Hello, and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News Channel. This is going to be a recap of the earlier stream. I stream twice a day on weekdays and once on Saturdays. If you want to join me on the stream, the link is in the description and in the comments below. Also, check out my Crypto Daily Updates channel. All the day's great crypto news condensed into one video. So check that out. All right, let's get started on the news. So the big news is that the IMF actually has confirmed a global recession. Yes, they finally confirmed it. We all knew it was already here already. And they said that this particular recession has a name now. It's called the Great Lockdown. And they say, like, at least in the short term, it's going to be much worse than the 2009 financial crisis. Now, during the global 2009 financial crisis, emerging nations actually grew about 2.8% that year. And developed nations or advanced nations lost about 3.3%. In comparison, the Great Lockdown 2020, emerging markets lost about 1.0% and advanced economies lost about 6.1%. So it is actually quite a bit worse than the global financial crisis in 2009. Obviously, when all your businesses have to shut down immediately, it's going to have a big effect. This is like, in short term, this is the biggest thing since the Great Depression. And we haven't seen these numbers since before World War II. So that's how serious it is. Goldman Sachs has also reiterated this, but they also predict a very fast recovery. Now, I personally think the recovery is more going to be U-shaped than V-shaped. And the IMF has already forgiven loans to about to the tune of $25 billion for many poor countries this year. I'm not really sure if the U.S. actually owes the IMF anything, so it probably doesn't benefit the U.S. The IMF is generally engaged in loans to developing nations. And the IMF is also encouraging debtors to forgive lenders, and for lenders to cooperate on joint efforts to prevent deglobalization. Deglobalization, honestly, is not really going to happen because once you have the internet and information flows everywhere, globalization is almost inevitable, but it could actually put a little bit of like a road stop in the plan. Whether you think that's good or bad, that's your opinion. But and they said the IMF has actually said that 90 of its 189 member states have requested financial support. So they're encouraging countries to distribute stimulus packages, and they're looking at massive contracted growth. Now, this is kind of artificial because it is stimulated by an outside source. It's not stimulated by like a massive meltdown in the economy itself. It's basically stimulated by a coronavirus that obviously is wreaking havoc with nations' economies. And once we find a vaccine or a cure for it, they will open up and go back up. But as CNBC said, it won't be total, at least not for the United States, because so much of our economy is actually invested in small businesses. And about, like a good percentage of them, I think like 30-40% said they're in danger of closing within the next 2 months. So like there's 3.5 million of these in the United States, and they employ less than 20 people each. So if they actually, even on average, let go of like 5 workers per business, that's 17.5 million more people unemployed, like 10%. So add that to the current unemployment rate and you've got a large problem. So even if some of those actually go under, and obviously the longer that we're in recession, the more that will actually go under, the worse it's actually going to get. So the economy is actually, definitely in a lot of trouble depending on how they give out the stimulus packages. How does that impact crypto? Well, we know that during the last few days, the crypto market's basically been following the stock market. If the economy is bad, if unemployment's high, the stock market will eventually drop. I know it's kind of like up right now, and I'm kind of confused by why it's actually up right now. I think like they have some positive they have some positive news about the virus, and it's actually up today because of that. But they're also bracing for earnings numbers and unemployment numbers, which are going to be really bad. So when those hit, I expect it to go back down, and then I do expect crypto to actually follow. So that's the whole thing with the IMF. That's why I think overall we're still in a bear market, because the economy is really terrible. And if you look at Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and Bitcoin SV, before their halvings, they didn't, like about a month before their halvings, they didn't really make any upwards moves. And if Bitcoin actually does parallel the stock market for a little while longer, I do think we will actually go back down. The other thing that's bad for crypto is central banks are looking at banning stablecoins. And that is recommended by the Financial Stability Board, and that is an international group. And they outline 10 recommendations for regulating stablecoins, including outright prohibition. So it is one of the proposals. I hope they don't do this, because banning stablecoins, even though stablecoins are used to manipulate Bitcoin, I think it would be terrible for cryptocurrency, and it would cause another market crash. Because if you think about it, stablecoins are the way a lot of people actually handle crypto, and a lot of people trade in and out of crypto. That would destroy a lot of liquidity and like probably take a good amount of people out of the market. Central banks are pushing for heavy duty regulation of centralized private issue global stablecoins, i.e. like nationalized crypto coins that are going to be privatized, and consider prohibiting decentralized ones. That would be like Tether, DAI, USDC, and all the ones that we know and actually use. Now, privately issued global stablecoins are going to be issued by the central banks themselves. So essentially, the central banks are going to be are actually afraid of the decentralized economy. And I'll tell you why that is. Because the global economic conditions have pushed banks to have like negative interest rates or very low interest rates bordering on 0%. The issue with this is that people are not going to want to put their money in banks. And if they see like stablecoins or DeFi projects have like 7 or 8% interest, they're going to want to put their money there. And the banks don't have much influence over that. So the banks are afraid of losing their power. And that's why they're considering prohibiting stablecoins. Some small countries are afraid that these stablecoins are going to usurp their national currency. A lot of these small countries aren't actually stable, so people rather have cryptocurrencies or stablecoins rather than the national currency, and they don't want to lose that power. It's all a power grab, honestly, and the central banks and the traditional financial institutions want to keep their power, so that's why they want to ban stablecoins. I really hope this doesn't happen because it would be devastating for the cryptocurrency industry. The third thing is actually good for crypto. Search volume for Bitcoin halving is actually greater than the last halving. Now, that's almost a given because there's more people that know about cryptocurrency this halving than last halving. And it's like different countries that are really spiking for that search volume. Like Venezuela and Nigeria, if you search for Bitcoin halving 2020, they're actually the countries that are actually looking for that term. But if you actually look at who's searching for Bitcoin halving, just Bitcoin halving, it's like Luxembourg and like some of the more developed countries in Europe, like Luxembourg, Switzerland, and stuff like that. So it's different people searching for Bitcoin halving and Bitcoin halving 2020. Now, most people probably don't search for Bitcoin halving 2020. They probably just search for Bitcoin halving as generic. So a lot of the developed world is actually interested in this, and that's where the money's at. So I'm hoping there's an injection of money sometime after the halving because Bitcoin actually needs it. So that is the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.